certified triple platinum.
It's a lot of platinums.
It's a lot of platinums.
My name is Zedd, and these are some of my iconic songs. I got interested in making music just because both of my parents make music. I think when I was like 4 or 5 is when I started writing music, and my parents, we would rent keyboards, and then they would record us, write our songs, and perform them. So I think our first recordings are from when I was 4 or 5, and my brother was 7 or 8 when we started writing our own songs. When I was growing up, we didn't really have much. So when we got a keyboard, that is what we had, and my parents would work all day, and my brother and I would just sit and write music and record music. Clarity is definitely a song that shaped my career a lot, I would say. It kind of established me as an electronic dance music artist that puts a lot of focus on vocals and emotions and lyrics. I was working on a song called Lost at Sea, which is also a song on my album, and I asked Matthew Koma to write a vocal for it. It was way too emotional for the track that Lost at Sea was, and the track Lost at Sea wasn't really giving the vocal what it needs, so I told Matthew I'm going to write a song for that vocal. I'm not going to use it on this, but I'm going to do something with it later. Then I randomly threw just the a cappella, because it's the same BPM and it happened to be in the same key, just threw that on top of the Clarity instrumental. I was like, this is really good. This is really strong. And I had goosebumps, and I felt something special. So originally, Matthew was the vocal on Clarity, but the highest note in the song was out of his range. I was just going to pitch the note up because I think it's fine, but I know that he was really adamant about not pitching his voice. I mean, the song is really high. For a guy to sing that song is crazy anyway. So we went through a couple singers, and I wasn't happy, and we were getting close to the point where I had to leave the track off the album just because I had my deadline, and my manager just was showing me some vocalists, and I heard Fox, and I was like, wait, this could be awesome. So I got on a Skype call with her and kind of talked through what I want and how I want the song sung. She was in England. She recorded it the next day, sent it back, and then Clarity ended up being on the album. I think Spectrum was the first song Matthew Koma and I worked on together. So I was in the studio, and I already kind of wrote 10 ideas for a track, which is basically an album. So it's kind of like, well, I might as well do something. So I started writing a song, and I remember my idea in that little post-drop section was to put as many sounds together as I could, different sounds, different samples, and see if I could create something smart out of that. Just getting those sounds together took a really, really long time. But since I had so much time and I was waiting, I was like, I might as well spend that time and do something with it. With Spectrum, I was just playing chords, and then I got into like the first 4, 5, 6 chords of the progression. Spectrum, until it loops around, is kind of a lot of chords, and I don't know if there's ever been a song with the exact same chord progression as Spectrum, which is really hard to do. So I just did the piano part. I record that, and then as I record everything I'm playing, there's the MIDI, essentially gives you the notes that you played. So I can take those notes into the computer and then start applying sounds to it. So I just did that and made the whole instrumental, and then I needed a vocal, and then I had Matt come in to the studio and we started writing. I went to the bathroom for 2 minutes, and I had that like something like that, but what we were working on that we couldn't really figure out. I was like, wait, this is great. And I came back in, I was like, Matt, this and this and that, and then we tweaked it, and then Matt wrote the lyrics, and then Spectrum was born. Stay the Night was kind of the follow-up single to Clarity, and I've always been a huge Paramore fan. I really wanted to work with Hayley, and I think before Clarity, it was just so hard for me to find anybody that would be willing to work with me, because people always thought DJs are DJs and they're not musicians. That was the stigma. Hayley was somebody who thought that I'm more than just a DJ, and gave it a shot and sang the song, and it was a huge honor and big moment for me personally because I'm such a big fan. So to get her in a song was a really, really great moment for me.
All I need is a beauty and a beat.
So I made 4 songs, of which Beauty and the Beat was the 4th one. And I had Justin's A&R in the studio. He was just visiting. He's like, what are you working on? It's like, well, this is all the stuff I'm working on. This is a track I wrote. And he's like, oh my God, can we please have Justin on it? I sent the song to Max Martin, and then he wrote the vocals to it. And then we met Justin in the studio, and then he ended up sounding really awesome on it. So we never tried anybody else. I oftentimes tried 10, 15 singers on a song, and Justin was the only one on the record. And then we needed somebody for the bridge, and they suggested Nikki, and I absolutely love Nikki.
You watched the music video for that one?
Sure did.
Pretty cool, right?
I think it's awesome. I think it was his idea. I don't think I was around to be in it, but I also don't remember if he asked me to be in it. I also don't know what I would have done in it. I mean, I love pools and swimming, so maybe I would have been one of those dancers in the pool. Break Free was a track I made, similar story to Beauty and a Beat. It ended up not feeling like the right song for me, but I love the song. I sent it to Max Martin, and he wrote the top line, and he then called me and was like, hey, I'm in the studio with this girl called Ariana Grande. Do you know her? I'm like, yes, I sure do know her. Would you want her to give it a shot? I'm like, yes, yes, please. So she sang it, sounded obviously incredible, but her voice was way higher. So I had to reproduce the song, I think 5 semitones higher than it originally was. I'm super thankful, honestly, for the experience because I love Ariana. I've always been a big fan, and just that I got the chance to work with her on a track is something that means a lot to me. Stay with Alessia Cara. Basically, I was way overworked, and I've played too many shows, and I've made too much music, and I needed a little bit of a break. For 6 weeks, I didn't do any music whatsoever, didn't go into the studio at all, and then I felt refreshed, and I was like, I'm ready to make music, and I started making Stay. I heard Alessia's voice on the radio. I was like, wow, she's really good, but I didn't know her, I didn't know anybody from her team, and randomly, Nickelodeon called and was like, we would like you and Alessia basically to do a collage of Zedd songs, and she would sing one. And I was like, yeah, perfect. So we did this little collage, and that's the first time I ever met her. She happened to be in LA the next day or week or something, and we recorded it, and then it ended up being, I think, quite a big song for both of us.
Oh, baby, why don't you just meet me in the middle?
So The Middle is a song I made with Gray and Maren Morris, and that song went through, I think, 13 vocalists. At first, it was really hard to find somebody, and then everybody wanted to sing it. Some of the singers on the song were people I've always wanted to work with, and it was the most heartbreaking thing to say, love you, but this is not the perfect time for us to work on a song together. So we were really close to giving up, and then I heard Maren's demo, and I thought that she was incredible. So the next possible day I flew to Nashville to record her vocal, and then I flew back and comped the vocal and finished the song. And in between us trying to find singers, we even had 2 singers who sang the song, who I loved, who then jumped off the song last second. So it was like giving birth to a child, and it just took forever. So when you remix a song, you typically try to keep the core of it alive, while when you make a song, you build the core. With Lost to Japan, it was just a little bit different, because usually I take songs and I try to make a completely new world around them. That's kind of how I approach it, but with Lost to Japan, because I love the song, love the original, my approach was rather to take a Shawn Mendes song and put my twist to it, to the point where it's not just a Zedd song, like a remix would usually be, but it's a mix of both of us, and it's what it would have been if we both wrote the song together. I love the remix, I love playing it, I love listening to it. It's a different vibe than I normally make, because it's much more chill and groovy, and it's also definitely different for Shawn, but I feel like this combination just kind of worked magically together.
You got plans tonight? I'm a couple 100 miles from Japan, and
We were wanting to work together for so long, so this was a really great opportunity. And as I was working on the song, I was just sending him, ideas, and he was giving me feedback, because we weren't in the same room together, so it had to be via phone. And then we finished the song to the point where we both loved it the way it was. True Colors is the title track to my album True Colors. And I released the song, and then I read about some of the news about Kesha online, and I just tweeted her, hey, if you need somebody to make music with, or if you need help, I'm here. I didn't know she was allowed to make music, or I think she wasn't actually allowed to make music. So at that point, I was approaching it more like a therapy thing, because I know she's a musician, she loves to make music, we decided, why don't we re-record True Colors and make your story out of that? So we got in the studio and we re-recorded the song, and then Dr. Luke's label or whoever was in charge heard that we were working together, and they said that if it's true, they are going to give us permission to release it for whatever reason. I don't know if that had anything to do with me or whatever was going on. Suddenly we're like, wait, we could actually maybe release your voice again. So we finished the song, and then we got permission, and we released the song in a time where I think she was in a really, really dark place, and I think it felt really good for everybody to see her shine again.
It's time to light the flame right before it rains.
A lot of my fans don't know where I come from, and I come from classical piano and being a drummer for longer than I've been a DJ. So playing instruments and making organic music is where I come from. And I felt like after I had success, more or less overnight, if you want to call it, people forgot my past and forgot that this is still a part of my heart. Making a statement by making an album called True Colors and showing people my true colors in the title track being organic instruments, I think was a really important step for me. And ever since, I feel like people have accepted me more as an artist and less as just a thing. And if I now come up with something new and different, people know that, this is part of me. At this point, I kind of accepted the fact that my songs will probably be played on the radio or TV in most places you go, but it still catches you off guard. No matter how many times I've heard my song on the radio, every time it starts playing, it's still kind of like, that's awesome. And yeah, to be able to have a song and then everybody, maybe they don't even speak the language and they still know the words to the song, that's just something really, really magical and kind of shows you how music can really bring culture together and eliminate all barriers that, there might be.